People have been arguing about who's the greatest forever, and honestly, everyone thinks they've cracked the code, Michael or LeBron. It's the debate that just won't quit. Truthfully though, only a few guys really understand what elite greatness looks like. These are the legends who actually felt that heat on the wood, living every single moment of it. Michael's case? It's pretty cut and dry. 6 trips to the finals, 6 rings. Total control. He made winning look like a reflex, like it was hardwired. For plenty of fans, that's where the argument starts and ends. Then there's LeBron, the king of the scoring charts. This man has reached more finals than some entire basketball teams. He does it all. Passing, buckets, defense, carrying the weight of a whole city on his shoulders. Built for the long haul, built to win, and constantly proving himself year after year. The fans never stop debating. But when the legends talk, those who actually guarded MJ or traded blows with LeBron, the whole conversation shifts to a new level. Some former pros point to Jordan's absolutely ruthless competitive fire. Others argue LeBron is the most complete athlete the game has ever seen. In this breakdown, we aren't just looking at random opinions. We're listening to 15 legends who actually lived it. When they speak, you realize the GOAT debate is about more than just stats. It's about how that dominance felt to the rivals standing in the way. Here are 15 NBA icons finally settling the score. And we're starting off with the one and only icon, Magic Johnson. Magic redefined winning back in the 80s with those Showtime Lakers. 5 titles, 3 MVPs, and he carried that entire era. When he weighs in on the GOAT talk, it matters. That's why he's a legend and arguably the best ever. Don't get twisted. Look, I love LeBron, I really do. But no way. We've got the receipts, it's all on film. You hear that? Hang on. Listen, LeBron is great. He's my guy, I love him to death. But when Michael Jordan took flight with his tongue hanging out, man, just hold up a second. Seriously, some of you weren't even born yet. 1991 against my Lakers. Right hand, we thought we had him. He looked at us descending. He swapped to the left. Even the tongue went left. Spun it right off the glass and in. No one on this earth could pull that off. That kid is special. Seriously. LeBron is a beast, don't get me wrong. He's incredible, but he just isn't Michael. Much respect. Magic. Now check out Charles Barkley, MVP, Hall of Famer, and maybe the most honest guy in the sport. Chuck never holds back. When he jumped into this, he completely shut down a LeBron fan with logic so sharp it changed minds. Hey Charles, my name's Jordan, which is a bit annoying for this talk, but since LeBron is now the top scorer ever with over 39,000 points, still climbing in rebounds and steals, blocks too. All while playing 20-plus elite seasons as an older guy, winning 4 titles, 4 MVPs, and making 19 All-NBA teams, who's truly better? Is it Jordan or LeBron? Look, those stats are absolutely wild. They really are. Unbelievable numbers. And look, I'm never going to say anything bad about LeBron James. Like I said, he's the 3rd best I've ever seen, right behind Michael and Kobe. It's just different eras. I love the guy. No hate here. But remember, he didn't do 3 years of college. You have to take that into account when looking at stats. He had a massive 3 or 4 year head start on Michael, since you're throwing those numbers at me. Let me give you a couple facts if you want a fair fight. Ask yourself, how many games did Michael play compared to LeBron? Because honestly, if you check the data, Michael actually scored 5,000 more points in the same amount of games. 5,000. That's 2.5 seasons. But don't forget, Michael spent 3 years at North Carolina. Plus, he broke his foot his first year and stepped away for 2 full seasons later on. So, if Michael had joined the league 3 years earlier, hadn't lost his rookie year to a broken foot, and didn't retire twice, he'd easily be the leading scorer. Can I just add one thing? Did you ever compare how many shots Michael took versus how many LeBron took? Actually, I haven't done that. Look, Michael Jordan and the others. They were both pure scorers. But Mike? He was shooting way more often. Scoring was his literal job description. Listen, people always want to compare LeBron's game to a Magic Johnson type of player. He covers way more bases than Michael ever did. Honestly, I'm willing to give him that win. But let me ask you something. I need you to be completely real with me deep down. If your life depended on winning one game, Game 7, would you put your trust in LeBron, Michael, or Kobe Bryant? Fine. Let's take it back to the Cleveland days. Michael Jordan remains the absolute toughest opponent I ever guarded. These young kids today, they only know LeBron. They grew up on Bron, but I was shocked last week when Ernie said Mike only had a 3-game lead in 30-point performances. And I'm thinking LeBron has played 7 extra seasons. That is a massive gap. That number is just flat out ridiculous to think about. As legendary as LeBron is, he's still trailing Michael in 30-point games despite playing 7 more seasons. That is just pure insanity. Even the biggest LeBron fans are stunned by that. Enter Reggie Miller, Hall of Fame sniper, and one of the few who actually battled Mike in the 90s. Reggie's take carries a different kind of weight because he survived Michael's legendary intensity in the trenches. You hear the constant noise about the GOAT. It's always Michael versus LeBron, right? Everyone is obsessed with who's the greatest. I usually duck that conversation because I only caught LeBron during his first year in the league. He was a rookie when I was retiring, so I lack a point of reference. But I'll say this. LeBron owns the greatest career. I say that all the time. He has the most impressive resume, but Mike is the best to ever touch a basketball, period. But as far as careers go, nobody beats LeBron. Honestly, I think these old-timers trash LeBron because they were nowhere near this elite late in their careers. They're just projecting their bitterness. LeBron is 22 years deep, 40-something years old, and still out there snatching a spot on the All-NBA team. It's wild. Averaging 25, 8, and 8 at 40? Most of the old guys were already sitting at home on their couches. Let's be real. Half of them weren't even that productive during their actual prime. Straight up, they weren't. To stay this elite for this long, greatest career by a mile. But is he the best? See, greatest and best are two totally different things in this sport. That's where the older generation gets it twisted. They refuse to give the man the respect he deserves. Exactly. He earned every bit of that praise. Everyone wishes they could still move like that in year 22. Now consider Shaq 4 rings, an MVP, and the most dominant force to ever play. Shaq didn't just play the game. He bent the entire league to his will through sheer size and raw power. And when the Diesel weighs in on the GOAT debate, he isn't going to sugarcoat a single word. Get ready to hear exactly how he cuts through the noise. In his world, the crown belongs to Michael. He was the only person who genuinely terrified me on my home floor. I went from worshiping him in high school and college to suddenly he's right there. Suddenly, that legend on your bedroom wall poster is breathing the same air as you in real life. He blew past me so fast my head spun. I respect LeBron, but I also value what others have to say. Jordan was the pinnacle in my book. Some guys prefer LeBron, and hey, that is their prerogative. But look at the numbers. His career stats are definitely going to be at the top of the mountain. Watching him pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I can be real. I'm incredibly jealous of that whole achievement. Then there's Allen Iverson, the 2001 MVP who wasn't just a player, but a whole cultural movement. AI speaks from the soul, no scripts. Just his top 5, Mike, Kobe, LeBron, Steph Curry, and Shaq. Michael, Kobe, LeBron, then Steph and the Diesel. That is my definitive list. When the conversation turns to the actual greatest, I'm putting Mike and Kobe at the very top. You know what I mean? Everyone else is below them. LeBron comes after those two for you? Oh, without a doubt. Absolutely. I've heard every single argument and all the analytics about who is better. I mean, I have to be biased. I really do. That man is the reason I ever wanted to be me. Totally. But when the time comes to actually hash it out, I get to list his receipts. I get to talk about the sheer magnitude of his accomplishments. I have so much love for LeBron as a ball player and for every single thing he's done to push the game forward. I'm talking about the man he is when the jerseys come off too. Everything he's achieved. Look, if you don't feel that, you're just a hater. You get what I'm saying? He's just the one. He's the gold standard, you know? And everyone is constantly trying to pit them against each other. Why can't we just accept that LeBron is a Mount Rushmore lock? Fact. That's plenty for me. That's exactly what I'm getting at when I argue that Mike still holds the edge over him. Yeah. It isn't meant as any kind of slight. I mean, the man is light years beyond who I ever was as a player beyond most of us. But one thing I really can't stand is when people get all worked up and angry about this whole debate. Listen, have your own opinion. There is absolutely nothing wrong with believing that LeBron is the greatest to ever do it. Then you have Kevin Garnett, an NBA champion, a former MVP, and easily one of the most intense warriors this league has ever seen. When KG was asked about the GOAT situation, he dropped a perspective that caught everyone off guard and made the whole room pause. Personally, I think they both changed the game in totally different ways. We've literally never seen a guy put up 39,000 points or spend 66,000 minutes on that floor. We've dedicated our entire lives to this sport. We know what we're seeing. When I watch a 38-year-old with more juice than 21 or 29-year-olds, it's clear he's essentially everything on that court. That is what I'm focusing on. I don't want to be sitting here in 2023, obsessing over things from the past. I want to be in the present, watching the future unfold. And that is exactly what I'm choosing to embrace right now. The past is literally happening right in front of us, man. Seriously, it is happening. He is out there dominating. Then there's Tracy McGrady, two-time scoring king, Hall of Famer, and maybe the smoothest bucket getter in history. T-Mac lived through the peak of both the Jordan and LeBron eras, giving him a rare vantage point that most players lack. When I was younger, I was firm. Mike is the GOAT, no comparison, end of story. But as I get older, I'm like, who cares? Why does it even matter? To me, LeBron is the GOAT of his era because he's been the top dog for, man, God knows how long. MJ was the king of his time. They are two different eras with two distinct styles of basketball picking. One ultimate GOAT is nearly impossible. My personal GOAT, simply because I grew up watching him, is MJ. But in my book, LeBron is absolutely in that same conversation. Then there is Stephen Curry, the man who literally changed the way the NBA is played. 4 rings, 2 MVPs, the greatest shooter ever, and a guy who traded blows with LeBron in the finals repeatedly. You can't ignore his take because he's faced LeBron in the highest stakes moments. The greatest player ever. See, I tend to lean toward the mindset that there are actually multiple GOATs. And I hate that it sounds like a safe answer because it's really not. It's just so incredibly hard to compare eras. Getting into those what-if scenarios with Michael or LeBron in different decades is just unfair. It's a great barbershop debate that'll never end. Paul Pierce, a Finals MVP and Celtics icon, known for never biting his tongue when it comes to the LeBron and MJ conversation. His takes always spark a fire and pull everyone's focus immediately. When we talk about the GOAT, I mean, it might actually be him. I think that right there probably clinched it. And the reason why is pretty simple. He's put himself in a position where I honestly don't see anyone passing him in our lifetime, especially with that scoring title. When you look at the accolades, that unbelievable longevity, and then you consider the most impressive part, it was the sheer weight of expectations coming out of high school. That level of pressure, let me tell you something. I remember being at my very first All-Star game in Philly. We were all hanging out in the locker room just talking to the media. The reporters were all buzzing, asking us if we'd heard about this kid. The chatter was everywhere. Have you heard of LeBron James? They were calling him a high school phenom, saying he was so good he could probably be playing in that All-Star game right then. I actually sat up and looked around at the legends in the room. I'm seeing AI, KG, Shaq, Jordan, and I'm thinking, wait, seriously? This kid is that good? I had to stop and really think about it. There was a kid still in high school who was actually that incredible. Finally, Steve Nash, 2-time MVP, one of the most brilliant playmakers the league has ever produced, and a guy who sees the floor with perfect clarity. His take on the GOAT debate reflects that same sharp surgical vision. It's a tricky one, you know? I think MJ is definitely my guy, always. Look, when the names LeBron and Kobe pop up, I totally get the hype. Most people have King James cemented at 1 or 2, it's just how it is. If you take a step back and really digest his entire body of work, honestly, the man's resume is airtight. I don't know, man. My personal holy trinity is probably Jordan, LeBron, and Kobe in that order, but honestly, how do you even pick wrong? When those 3 were firing on all cylinders, they hit a gear that nobody else on this planet has ever touched. It's just a completely different atmosphere up there. Exactly. Enter Dominique Wilkins, 9-time All-Star, the human highlight film, and one of Jordan's most relentless, bloodthirsty rivals on the court. Not many guys pushed Michael to the edge like Nike did. So, when he speaks, people shut up and listen. You never stood across from him, so you just don't get it. If you haven't faced Mike, you shouldn't be talking. Listen. I've battled the absolute toughest, most gifted killers to ever lace up a pair of sneakers. Mike was a total freak of nature with a nasty edge to match. Every single night you played him, those eyes were bloodshot red, pure intensity. The man looked possessed. I'd just sit there thinking, well, time to go to war tonight. Like Jesus is coming or something. Then you have Dennis Rodman, 5 rings, defensive icon, and a guy who lived through that Bulls dynasty. He's got that raw, behind-the-scenes perspective that only a tiny group of humans will ever truly understand. That argument has been raging for a long time now. No doubt? Look, if you stack Michael's legacy against LeBron's, it's impressive on both sides. But listen, if Mike played in today's game, with the way things are called now, the man would easily average 50 points a night. No question about it. 50 points? Easy. LeBron is a massive talent, clearly. He's definitely top 3, right there with Kobe, Magic, or Kareem. But Mike, he's in a different universe. I don't even know why we're debating the GOAT. Then there's Patrick Ewing, Hall of Fame Knicks legend, who went to war with Jordan in the playoffs for years. If anyone truly witnessed Mike's greatness from the trenches, it's Ewing. So I've got a question. This new generation has their own ideas. Who's your ultimate basketball GOAT? Ah, here we go. It's funny because everyone asks that same thing, but in my eyes, Michael Jordan was the absolute best. It was his whole approach, the pure skill he brought to every game. And look, I'm not trying to disrespect what LeBron or Kobe did. LeBron is phenomenal, sure, but Michael was a stone-cold killer from day one. He was an assassin immediately. I felt like LeBron actually had to teach himself how to be that cold. He was great though. Now, if you ask me who I'd actually want as a teammate, I'm picking LeBron, because I want to get my buckets. Yeah, I want that high-level facilitator. I want to be the one scoring. LeBron really reminds me a lot of Magic Johnson. He is a natural facilitator who knows exactly how to get his teammates the rock, and honestly, he only really became a pure scorer as he started getting older. But look, he's incredible. I'm still picking Michael every time, but you really can't diminish what those other legends did during their careers. You just can't. I mean, you've got Kareem, Wilt, Bill Russell, and Dr. J. Every single one of them was a giant in their own time. I think it's a bit unfair to just point at one guy and declare him the single greatest athlete to ever play. Michael achieved some truly legendary things, which I know all too well since I had to battle that guy starting way back in college all the way through the pros. Honestly, it was just remarkable to watch the things he pulled off on the court. You've just got to respect it. Then there's John Stockton, the all-time king of assists and steals, a man who saw Jordan in 2 different finals. His words have this calm weight that slices right through the loud chaos of this whole argument. LeBron is fantastic, no doubt. But for me, Michael was just something else. Tell the audience what it was really like facing him back then. Yeah, he might be the fiercest competitor across any sport in history. Honestly, it was almost borderline insane. If we were just sitting here chatting, he'd probably turn it into a contest over who owned the air. I remember playing ping pong against him once. Who came out on top? Oh, he did. It was a tight match during the Olympics, but what really shocked me was the sheer intensity he brought just to win. We were just hanging out in a room full of kids, casually hitting the ball around, and suddenly he flipped a switch and it got intense. He was suddenly on a warpath. And that's exactly how he treated every single thing in life. He lived for that razor-sharp advantage in everything, honestly. It's that sheer intensity that put him in another stratosphere entirely. I respect his game immensely, but let's be real, the debate isn't just some two-man duel at the summit. You cannot tell this story without giving Kareem Abdul-Jabbar his proper due right there alongside the rest. Then you've got Wilt, plus the era-defining rivalry of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. Giants, every single one. Plenty of legends deserve a seat at that table, even if the era and obstacles they faced weren't identical. Circling back to Mike, his basketball IQ and basic skills were flawless, meaning his explosive athleticism was a weapon, never a crutch. The groundwork always came first. That's precisely why he reached a level most players can only dream of. Plus, he stayed loyal. Sure, there was that Washington sunset, but that's a separate chapter that doesn't change the legacy. Ring chasing or hunting for the easiest path to a trophy just wasn't in his DNA. He stayed put. His attitude was, "This is my house, join me, and we'll win together." You have to admire that old-school grit. Then we have Larry Legend, 3-time MVP, and Boston's greatest icon, who witnessed MJ's rise from the opposing side. When a guy like Bird weighs in on who's the greatest, you'd better believe the basketball world stops to listen. Look, I was never confused about my own talent. I knew exactly what I brought to the court every night. What anyone else thought about my style or my skill, honestly, I couldn't have cared less. With the guys I had around me, I walked onto that floor knowing we'd crush whoever was in front of us. That was the level of my confidence. And listen, people need to stop complaining about LeBron and just appreciate the show. Watch him while you still can because he's phenomenal. We're talking about one of the absolute greatest to ever play. Then you look at my peers, Magic, Mike, Kareem. The talent pool is endless, making it nearly impossible to crown just one. Everyone thinks their own era was the golden age, but I don't subscribe to that logic. Times simply change. Cycles shift. There you have it, 15 titans of the game, each offering a massive piece of the puzzle. We may never reach a final verdict, but these insights bring us a step closer to the real heart of greatness. So, which icon had the most savage take on the GOAT? Hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you soon.